Today's podcast is about coaching, not the kind of coaching we're familiar with from the sports world, but professional coaching, where an experienced person called a coach supports a learner or client in achieving a specific personal or professional goal using questions and observations. Here to help us define this further is Allison McCarthy, leadership coach at Barlow McCarthy, and Laurel Hopkins, executive director, market development at Virginia Mason Franciscan Health. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Tony.
Hi, Tony.
So to get us started, Allison, why don't you just help us with the definition of kind of what is coaching?
Sure. And coaching in the professional world has then lots of subsegments to it. You can have life coaches, you can have health coaches. In my case, my focus is leadership development coaching, professional development. And it really is about that professional stretch. It could be somebody who's walking into a new role and they are stretching themselves and need a partner to help them do that, to eliminate the work they used to do and now learn how to do the work they're supposed to be doing in their new role. With physicians, leaders I coach, it's often to help them not be the clinical expert, but learn how to be the liaison between them, their colleagues, and administration. In Laurel's case, it was she was at a professional stage where she wondered if she needed to move on into a new role and a new organization. And so it can be even people in those circumstances who are deciding, what should I do next at this stage in my career?
Perfect. So Laurel, what did you hope to achieve from your coaching engagement with Allison?
Yeah, so I went into my coaching with Allison with a really open mind. Allison set that up really well. And I was at a point in my career where I was comfortable but wanted to grow. So my expectation going into coaching was what success had gotten me to where I was not going to get me to this next phase. And I had ideas in my head about what I wanted to achieve in my career. And so that's when the idea of coaching was put in front of me. And I thought that's a really good step to make sure that I am prepared to step into a new stretch role. But then also, was that the right thing that I needed to be doing? And again, I can't emphasize enough that, what had gotten me to that point in my career, which was wonderful and successful, wasn't going to get me to the next point. And so really needing a partner to help me identify where I could stretch, what my strengths were, what were my areas of opportunity, and then what would getting to that next step look like. And I was extremely happy with the outcome.
Awesome. So Allison, how do you typically structure a coaching engagement?
Yeah, so I really like to have at least one, if not a few starter conversations. So particularly if I don't know the person, so we get to know each other a little bit and really get a sense of what their goals are, what they're trying to achieve. And then depending upon how big the goal is, it could be an engagement of 6 sessions. It could be as long as 12 sessions. It could be even a year long, which would be 24 sessions. Often they're every other week because the person needs to do some testing the waters, trial and error, stretching themselves on their own independently, and then coming back to the coaching engagement with sharing what they learned and what worked and what didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very neat. So another one for you, Laura. What's it like being in those one-on-one coaching sessions? For example, what do you prepare to bring to each session? And what do you get back in return?
It's a really good question. And I've thought a lot about this question because for me, I was the one seeking the coaching. Somebody wasn't telling me I needed to do the coaching. So I was really enthusiastic about it. And I knew Allison, I knew her partners at Barlow McCarthy. So I knew that the quality of what I was going to get was going to be top notch, right? So I wanted to make sure I was going into my sessions open-minded but prepared. So Allison, yet again, you served it up nicely. We had our first couple of, it was a good 2 sessions that we talked about what that was going to look like, what I was needing, kind of where I was coming from. So the good thing about, the thing that I appreciated about my coaching is we talked a lot about, you know, real world situations that I was sitting in that maybe I felt uncomfortable for. And then we'd work through those, and then Allison would give me homework. And sometimes it was like, okay, rewrite that and figure out how you're going to show up next time with that. Don't worry, you may not have, you don't have to show this to anybody. And then there was always, then this I really appreciated because it's my personality, excuse me. She always gave me something to read, right? Something to research. The Thin Book of Trust always comes to mind. And then Playing Big, another book that she had given me. And so I'd try and look a little bit into what, because there was always a reason she was telling me those books, whatever she gave me had some reason for and linked back to the conversations that we had. So I'd always make sure that I had that prepared, kind of able to talk through my homework. And then I always wanted to queue up another something, whether it was a case study or a, like, I observed this situation in a leadership meeting. How would you go about that? How do you see me showing up in that situation? And so that's how I would prepare for those sessions. And typically an hour went ridiculously fast. So yeah.
Yeah. Allison, anything to add? Kind of the similar question from your perspective?
Yeah, I think Laurel really called out, you know, when someone's coming to me because they've got a performance issue and they're being asked to be coached, it is harder. Not that we don't get there, but there's a lot more work that has to happen on the front end to get to their comfort around talking about the issue. But Laurel always came prepared with something, as she said, a case study, a situation, a challenge. And I think that's a really important piece because this is about you changing yourself. This is about you stretching yourself. So you're the one that's doing the work, and it's got to be work you want to do. So this is not therapy. You know, this is not mentoring where we're going to talk at you. This is you doing the work yourself, and we're here to be the support to help you think it through, brainstorm ideas. I mean, often, yes, provide my experience and insights. That definitely comes into play. So we can practice, even role play a little bit. So she was always prepared, and that made a huge difference.
And that, if you don't mind, I want to add to this a little bit because I think this is what's important with coaching for me. Again, was that growth is uncomfortable. Like true growth is uncomfortable because you're stretching yourself and you're putting yourself in a situation where you may not know what the outcome is going to look like. You haven't been there before, or you've been in that situation and you didn't do well. The outcome wasn't what you expected. And so for me, having that, and again, I showed up only prepared, but also really vulnerable in the sense that I'm like, I totally screwed the situation up. How can I do this better next time? Because I know I'm going to sit in this situation again. And so being able to have that role play, you know, that opportunity to be uncomfortable in a safe space is another benefit that I didn't even expect to have out of coaching. So my quip of like, sometimes it's therapy, but being able to work through those situations to test your growth, because that's the thing, right? That's why I was choosing to have a professional coach, because I wanted to grow and I didn't know what that looked like. So that was another thing that was really, really beneficial, and I prepared for it each time I'd show up to a session with Allison.
I just had a quick follow-up question based on kind of what you said at the beginning of your answer, Laurel, and it is, you brought yourself to the coach, but Allison and Laurel as a leader, maybe you have someone on your team who you think would benefit from a coach. How do you stage that or set that up for that person to have success? They're not initiating it, you're initiating it for them. How can you help them find success and set that up for maybe someone on your team?
So I love that question. I've been thinking a lot about this. Is very timely for me because I just got done doing annual reviews with my team. And one of the things that I bring to the table is I have a title. I'm an executive director of market development, but the thing that I identify as is a leader. And I don't take that lightly. And so your question is really, like I said, timely and important to me because as a leader, it's my responsibility to support people to get them to where they are and where they want to be. And so if I identify, and let me also caveat that as a leader, I will never ask anybody that I work with to do something that I myself am not willing to do. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that I can say, I went through this coaching, this was the result for me, I see that this could possibly be something based on our conversation that you might enjoy. Mm-hmm. And you could benefit from. It's just a thought. I would love to talk more with you about that. And I actually had one of those conversations, not with somebody on my team, but another person on one of my leadership teams that I sit on. And I think it's a good question. And again, showing people that growth and growth is possible. And sometimes you just need a little help. So that's a great question. Mm-hmm. Allison?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other piece of it is that unfortunately, in the pace of the world that everybody is working in these days, the leader always wants to give more time to their team members than they have the bandwidth to give. And they see potential in people. So they want to give them. So I think that's how you would convey it to somebody to set it up for success is, I see this potential in you. I would like to see in the next year you grow in ABC kind of way. I don't have the bandwidth to nurture that for you, but I think a professional coach could do that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm recommending as part of my way of supporting you that I give you that resource. The words partnership is really important and support is really important. So it's not being perceived as a performance improvement effort that they've done something bad. This is about, I see a real potential and I want to invest in you.
Very good. So let's shift gears a little bit to beyond one-on-one coaching to group coaching. Allison, can you tell us a little bit about what does group coaching look like?
Yeah. So group coaching would be, roughly 8 to 10 people, individuals. They've probably got some commonality. They do the same kind of work. It could be in the same organization, but I think it works best when it's a similar role across different organizations, definitely in different markets. So you're not feeling like you're sitting with a competitor. Mm-hmm. Because as Laurel said, there's a level of vulnerability that you're exposing yourself to. And the coach's responsibility to the group is to determine collectively what are the themes that the group wants to work on. In what ways are they challenged in commonality that group coaching could help foster? The benefit then of the group coaching is that it's not just the coach who's there as a resource. You've got several other people who also have had experience to learn from. I've done it group coaching where a book has been sort of the anchor of topics to come to the table, or I've done it as a survey tool to get those common themes to then bring to the conversation. So it's still the learning, it's still the stretch. I think you get then the added benefit of learning from peers as much as you're learning from a coach.
Sure. And Laurel, what would make a group coaching experience interesting to you?
again, just building on what you said, Allison, is that I have gotten so much out of my one-on-one coaching. And I've also been really fortunate over my career to get to know a lot and be very friendly and make friends with a lot of my peer set across the country. And a lot of people I really, really respect. I watch how successful they are, what they do. And the opportunity to sit in a group with Allison leading the group and having my peers in there is very exciting to me in terms of, again, my growth and my potential. You know, I love learning from people. I love taking people's ideas back to the homestand with me, right? I think the funny thing is I've given a couple of presentations at some conferences, and there'll be people in the room, and I'm like, hey, this is your idea, Angela Santos. And to be able to sit, you know, to sit in a group and be able to do that is something that I really want to be able to participate in.
You know, I would add to that sometimes, I mean, group coaching sometimes sounds like an amorphous phrase. So I just want to share that sometimes it's called masterminding, or mastermind groups is another way of describing what it is. You know, lunch and learns, breakfast learning. There's all kinds of terminology that are used for what this thing is. The goal of it is that me as the coach, I'm sort of the facilitator and the prompt. I'm not doing an hour-long training. I'm not, you know, coming with a PowerPoint slide deck. This is for the group to really deliberate amongst themselves. I prompt with questions. That's part of my facilitator role, but it's really for them to get the most out of each other in that ability to stretch.
And just to continue to add to that, and talking about conferences, like we go to conferences to learn and listen to presentations, but you know, the ancillary benefit is going and seeing your peer set and having those conversations, sitting around, you know, having a cup of coffee, saying, hey, this is what I've been dealing with. I know you have. How are you doing this? And being able to do that in a structured setting with a facilitator, I think could just be super beneficial and helpful outside of the conference realm too. So
yeah. Well, that was a great conversation, you guys. Allison, if someone wants more information on coaching with you, either as one-on-one engagement or in a group approach, what do you recommend as the next step?
I would love them to email me, Tony, and I think we can give them the email address, McCarthy@barlowmccarthy.com. Go to our website, barlowmccarthy.com. I'll call the main number that's listed on the website. We'll have an initial conversation and see what the person wants to talk about or consider as a coaching goal, and then take it from there.
Well, thank you both for your time today. It was great to sit down and chat about group coaching and one-on-one coaching. Thank you, Laurel, for sitting down with Allison and I. And yeah, we'll have to talk again soon.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks,
Laurel.
Thank you.